We're now live.
There we go. Good evening, everybody. Good to see some of you again. So, obviously, the live cast tonight. Standards Committee, just going through the items on the agenda first of all. So, if we can have item 1, apologies for absence, please.
Of course. So, we've had apologies from Paul Worthington, Jill Nerton, Kerry Watkins, and Councillor Paul Cochran.
Thank you very much. Any declarations of interest for those of us who are here? Oh, lovely job, thank you very much. Minutes of the previous meeting, so page 3 to 12. First of all, for accuracy, so page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7, page 8, page 9, page 10, and finally page 11. And then from there, any matters arising. So page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6. I've only got one matter arising from these, and it's the 3/4 of the way down on page 6, and it was the group leaders to attend the Standards Committee for a 6-month update. So I suspect that'll be our sort of October meeting that we'll invite them again. Carrying on from there, page 7, page 8, page 9, page 10, and page 11. And if everyone's content, we'll get those signed off. Thank you. Having spoken to Liz earlier on, there's no announcements for me to make at this evening meeting. So going on down, item 6 on the agenda, complaints. So I'm going to hand over to Liz to update us on the complaint position.
Thank you, Chair. I've got several complaints to report on. 4 community council complaints to start with, all relating to Langstone Community Council. The first 3 are in relation to one councillor. So there was an alleged complaint that the councillor drove their car as the complainant in a country lane. The Public Service Ombudsman found that this complaint didn't meet the first stage test for the investigation. There was no evidence to substantiate the breach. Police had been involved, evidence provided to the police but not to the PSOW. So it was found no code of conduct breach and no investigation. And the second complaint in relation to the same member was in relation to writing a misleading statement to support a certificate of lawfulness to appeal a planning decision being made to the Planning Environment Decision Wales. Again, the Ombudsman found that it didn't meet the first stage test, no evidence to substantiate that there was a breach of the code of conduct, so no investigation. The third complaint against this member was that they had passed information to a friend to be posted on Facebook that they had driven their car at a friend's daughter and posted on Facebook about the police being called at the complainant's house. Again, the Ombudsman found there was no evidence to substantiate breaches of the code. No evidence had been provided. On 2 of the occasions, the member was not actually a community councillor at that time, relevant time. He was acting as a private individual. So again, no investigation. And then the final one for Langstone Community Council was another member writing a misleading statement again for a certificate of lawfulness in relation to appeal by Planning and Environment Decision Wales. Again, the Ombudsman found that this didn't meet the first stage test, no evidence to substantiate a breach of the code of conduct, so no investigation forthcoming from that one. That concludes the community council complaint. So I now can update you in relation to one of our city councillors. I think this was reported to you back in 21-22 in relation to the criminal conviction of one of our former city councillors. The matter had been referred to the Ombudsman by the monitoring officer on 2 grounds: that the criminal conviction of the former councillor brought his office and the council into disrepute, and that he made comments at an overview and scrutiny management committee, which were an attempt to improperly use his position as a councillor to gain an advantage for himself. So the Ombudsman investigated these matters and issued a decision that the criminal conviction may amount to a breach of the code of conduct in terms of bringing the office of councillor and the council into disrepute, and on that basis referred the matter to the adjudication panel for Wales to make a finding. The allegation in respect of using his position to gain an advantage was not upheld. For the tribunal, the adjudication panel for Wales considered this matter on the 23rd of June on the papers only, and they recently issued the decision. I actually received the written decision on Friday, so I can circulate that to committee due course. But the basis of the decision was that the nature of the criminal offence and the publicity surrounding it, made reference to the council and the former councillor, reflected poorly on himself and his role, and brought his office and the council into disrepute. This was a unanimous finding by the panel. So the sanction was determined that the former councillor would be disqualified for a period of 9 months from being a member of Newport City Council or any other relevant authority, and that Newport City Council Standards Committee be notified accordingly. And as I said, I'll forward the decision for you to consider.
Thank you.
Complaint.
Could I ask a question?
Yes, sure.
Thank you. Regarding the community council complaints, could I ask how long it took the Ombudsman to make a decision from when the complaints were made?
I can't tell you, I'm afraid, because I don't know when the complaint was made. We just get the decision when the complaint.
I mean, we've made complaints in the past, and you know, it took a very long time for the community council to be heard by the Ombudsman, and I wondered if there was any difference in the amount of time that it took him to hear the city council's complaint and against the community council's complaints.
Well, the community council complaints are made by members of the public to the Ombudsman, so we're not notified when the complaint is made. We just notified of the decision. So I'm not sure how long it would have taken, but in my experience of complaints that I know have been made, they do take quite a long time.
I know it's over 12 or something.
Yeah.
When you make a complaint, all the evidence sort of disappears, doesn't it? You know, and, I wonder why is it taken so long for the Ombudsman to if we took that long for these complaints now, why is it taking so long for the Ombudsman to review these cases? Is it a case of there needs to be more Ombudsmen? Are they overworked or something like that? You know, it's something that perhaps needs looking at.
Yeah, I suspect they have a lot of complaints to consider. If you think of all the community councils in Wales, there's quite a lot on top of the 22 principal councils.
But it would be nice to know how long it took for the complaints to be here.
Yeah, I think looking at that, John, and listening just to what Liz has said, of course, we're at a disadvantage straight away because they don't come to us first of all, they go straightly to them. So, you know, unless we knew when those complaints had actually been made by that person,
It would be
these
nice
people,
to know, wouldn't it?
but you know, the outcome is really what I think is the crux of it from there. And I don't think whatever we say or do is going to make the Ombudsman recruit more people. And as Liz has said, you know, with all the councils that are in Wales, I don't know, but I suspect that we start off at a disadvantage because we don't know originally the complaint goes in. So.
But I mean, for the councillors themselves, it's not good, is it, to have that hanging for such a long period of time?
I suspect where the Ombudsman has not had any evidence to uphold a complaint, those are probably dealt with fairly quickly, but where there's some evidence that's been submitted, then the Ombudsman does have to investigate.
Like, I can understand that he has to write to people.
Yeah, it's a time-consuming process.
You know, that's probably back and forth with an email, isn't it? I wouldn't have thought that before we did that. It'd just be nice to know how long they're taking there.
See if we can find some information.
Can I just ask a question? During these complaints being investigated, do the councillors or the community council, can they still carry on with their duties?
Yes.
Okay.
Can I ask just some
Yes,
clarification about the city councillors ban? When does that actually run from?
I think it's from the date of the decision.
Right.
Didn't mean to check that. Apologies. 9 months from. Yeah, it doesn't actually say when it starts from, which is not very helpful. I will find out and I'll report back on that. I'm quite sure I read it was from the date of the decision, but I will confirm that.
Did you say he's an ex-councillor?
Yes.
So he's not an councillor now anyway.
Not a council now, no. And the tribunal actually took that into consideration with their sanction, because he could have been disqualified for being a member by us, but the fact that he wasn't a member already, they thought that 9 months was a sufficient time for him to reflect on his
He
behaviour.
probably knew what was coming.
Richard, notwithstanding whatever Liz may find out for us, I remember the one and only complaint that we dealt with here, that sanction took place at the end of the business day when we made our decision.
Yes, you're right. Yeah.
It ran straight from there. I'm not saying that the Ombudsman may have anything different, but that would sort of make a bit more sense to run it from it, because they want to, until they've come to their decision, they want to know what's, you know, if it was proven or not proven. So, but I'm sure Liz will find out something for us.
Yeah, I'm fairly sure that is the answer, but I just want to double check and let you know just to be sure.
Thank you. Liz, any other comments? Thank you. Item 7 on the agenda, the pen report. Back to you again, Liz.
Yeah, so it's just a very quick update, nothing too substantial to give you. Just a reminder that I don't know if you recall that there was an independent review of the ethical standards framework commissioned by the Welsh Government to be undertaken by Richard Penn, and a number of recommendations came out of that review. Since that time, the Welsh Government has opened up the review, the recommendations for consultation across Wales. The consultation was open from the end of March until the 26th of June. I know I circulated the papers for everyone to consider, but at our last monitoring officer group, or Wales monitoring officer group meeting, we discussed submitting a joint All Wales response to the questions. That's been put together. It was circulated to committee for any suggestions, but everyone was content with the responses that have been provided on behalf of the monitoring officers group. So that's now being submitted to the Welsh Government as part of that consultation, and we'll just await the findings. Quite a number of the recommendations weren't taken forward by the Welsh Government, but on the ones that were proposed to take forward, the consultation responses have been provided. And if you want any more information on that, I can provide further information if you'd like it.
Sorry, I was just going to ask, did you say you shared the response with the committee?
I did. Yes, with the committee. It was Emily circulated it to the committee, the suggested response, to ask for any comments.
Okay, thank you.
Richard, if you did you feel you didn't get it? I know I had it in my inbox.
Yeah, no, I'm sure I had it. Unfortunately, I obviously missed responding to it.
Yeah.
Happy to send it again if you'd like to see it and consider the.
Yeah, I'd welcome that. Obviously, it's past the date the consultation closed, but just for information.
Yes, we'll arrange that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Liz. Our next item on the agenda, item 8, community council support. Leanne, over to yourself.
So I just thought I would give an update to the committee. I know we've discussed, liaison with community councils at previous meetings before and talked about the support provided for them. So this year for 2023, so far we've had 2 meetings. So the first time we met was in February, and we had 5 representatives from the community councils in attendance. So that meeting really focused on the role of the standards committee, how that interacts with community councillors and their roles with community councils. And we also did a bit of a bottoms up on the role of the community council themselves. So we went back to, the legislation that underpins community councils, their responsibilities, their roles, how that fits in the structure of primary councils, and then overall government, and perhaps some of the variations and different things that are considered in each area. So the next meeting then, I think we were quite keen to sort of build some of the attendance back up. We've done a lot of work with the clerks and with our chairs. So we met again in June and we had 8 representatives then. So in response to community councillors, we did have police presence then at the next meeting. So they were able to ask some key questions, get some updates on their local areas. And again, just about rebuilding those relationships back up. At that meeting, then we also ran through the new requirements for the annual reports that need to be submitted this year by September. So really pleasing to hear that for lots of the community councils in attendance, they were already aware, they were working on their annual reports, and we discussed really what the requirements are, the fact that much of what should be in their annual report is already a requirement of the community council. It is largely just about bringing it together into one cohesive document. And we also then spent a bit of time on community council regulations. So again, the minimum standards, what councils are expected to publish, the roles and responsibilities of their councillors and members, having distinct responsibility put onto finance and audit support. We also talked about the engagement side of things, so the publicising of public meetings, making sure that they are meeting new regulations around accessibility. And we also again talked about the requirements under general legislation like health and safety, HR support, those kind of things. So I think that was a really good discussion. I know Tom was present, so
yes, it was good. I have had some contact as well.
Oh,
They still haven't attended the community council meeting, and they're not available until perhaps the September meeting.
okay.
So it's very good to come and see how much they want to meet us, but it doesn't. But we have had a newsletter.
Oh, great.
There we go.
That's something, but still no presence.
I certainly think just something we keep chipping away at, and then
Yes, I've been in touch with Inspector Giles. Liaison backwards and forwards.
Oh, great.
So
Oh, that's good.
bit of good has been done, I think.
And I think it was really good to have everybody around the table because of different levels of experience, people were able to share best practice. And that was something that came out of it, is perhaps rather than everybody going off and, producing a risk assessment for their offices, perhaps sharing that best practice and making use, and not everybody's repeating the same thing multiple times. So that was really helpful. We also talked topically about the complaints process. That division of where it might be considered by the monitoring officer, where it might be considered by the ombudsman, and how that works. And we also talked about the process for casual vacancies, so that could be fed back to clerks and make sure that that's really clear about how that can be managed and how we provide support. Between those 2 meetings, the community councils were also invited to participate in a meeting with Planning Aid Wales. So this was part of the next phase of the local development plan and making sure that they were included in the consultation for that. Looking forward then, we have another meeting in September. So something that we discussed with the community councils was having a representative of the Standards Committee at the next meeting to talk about the role of the Standards Committee, how that relates to code of conduct and community councillors. So that'll be yourself, Chair. We can send you through a date.
Yes, thank you.
Great.
What's it doing now?
Also on the work programme for the liaison meetings are the Great Wellbeing Plan. So making sure that we share the updates on the plans for improving social, economic, environmental and cultural wellbeing in the area. those community councils were a statutory consultee for the plan when it was being developed. I think it's really important to come back and share how that's been created. And similarly, then looking at the local action plan, so that subgroup of the Gwent Public Services Board will then share the Newport centric local action plan, which are our objectives under that wider wellbeing plan. Something also on the list is we would look at some of the changes under the Local Government and Elections Wales Act, which they're in the pipeline. We've already done some of them with the community councils, but there are more to come in the future, which don't have so much of a direct impact, but obviously being elected representatives, that would be key for them to note. Also on the list then that was raised with the community councillors, so as John said, police matters high on the list, so we'll continue to engage and support from that perspective. Personal safety was also one which councillors were keen to have some training on, so that is in the pipeline. We're just waiting for some dates to be agreed, some developed in conjunction with the police, so some really good training and a really comprehensive guidebook then to be shared with the councillors. And then again, touching on that health and safety aspect. So thinking about risk assessments, the first step, and again, liaising with our health and safety support and seeing what the council can do around supporting the training needs for the councillors in that way. I think that was it for my update.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. And any comments or any questions on that? John, primarily from yourself, anything else on that?
No, I was at the meeting, so
excellent.
It was a constructive meeting.
Okay, great, thank you.
But that's a good point.
That's what we like to see. So item 9, our forward work programme for us. I think that the next part of this really will be the October meeting when we re-meet the councillors again, the council leaders. Any other thoughts of yourself, Liz? To look at that, won't we? Great, okay.
To the October.
That would be lovely. Thank you. Richard, anything for yourself? Any thoughts or?
No, sorry, nothing further.
Okay, fine, thank you. Okay, thank you for that. In that case then, date of the next meeting, and Emily's given us that as the 19th of October 2023 at 5:30. And again, Emily, I take it it'll be that hybrid. You can either come here or it'll be, okay, lovely, from that side of it. Just before we finish, a little bit remiss of me, and I'm sorry it's a little bit late now, Councillor Rugley, but just to welcome you to the committee. I know you've taken over from Councillor Farweather, so good to see you, and thank you for your attendance.
Thank you. Thank you. I think I have met you. I have met the committee before.
You did.
And now it's nice to be on this side of the table. As they say, it's a different appearance. So, but thank you for your kind words.
No, thank you, and apologies for not doing it straight away. But you're here with us now, which is the important thing. So,
thank you.
On that note, thank you everybody for this evening. Have a good evening, and we'll speak to you all in October. So thank you all and good night.
Thank you.